Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something pretty special. It's heartwarming stories of human connection. And I know you're probably thinking, wait a minute, I'm all about AI and tech?
Yeah.
But stick with us because, trust me, this is going to be fascinating.
You're absolutely right. In this age of algorithms and AI, it's easy to forget that human connection, that human touch is still so powerful.
Exactly. So today we're going to set aside the complex code and all that and just explore, acts of kindness, compassion, and what it means to be human. You with me?
Absolutely. These stories from Oh Heartbeat Celebrating Human Connection, they really highlight just how much those things still matter.
Yeah, they do. All right, so where do we even begin?
Well, how about we start with a story from a place I think a lot of us can picture, the New York City subway.
Oh, yeah, the subway. Always an adventure.
Right. So this story is called Subway Samaritan, and it really shows how even a small gesture can make a big impact. So picture this, a woman is struggling with a baby stroller on the subway stairs.
I can see it now. That feeling of, oh no, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's rushing by, but then the stranger, he just stops and helps her without a second thought. And he doesn't just help her up the stairs, he actually stays with her until she's safely on the train.
Wow. That just goes above and beyond.
It really does. And it makes me think about another story this time from Mumbai. It's called The Unexpected Feast. So there's this restaurant owner, and he notices a family who clearly can't afford their meal.
Oh gosh, that's a tough situation.
It is, but instead of embarrassing them, he quietly pays for their dinner.
Wow. Talk about an act of kindness.
Right, and I think these stories highlight something really important. It's the ripple effect of kindness.
Yeah.
One good deed can inspire so many others to do the same.
Yeah, it's contagious, isn't it? Okay, so speaking of inspiring acts, how about the Bookhaven in Edinburgh?
Oh, that's a good one. So picture this, a sudden downpour, people running for cover, and this bookstore opens its doors to anyone who needs shelter.
A bookstore?
Mm.
Man, that's not something you see every day.
No, it's not. But they didn't just offer people a dry place to stay. They also gave out warm drinks. And of course, you were surrounded by all these amazing stories in the books.
That's incredible. We usually think of bookstores as quiet places,
Yeah.
for being alone with a book. But this story, it's like the bookstore becomes this community center almost.
You got it. It's a shared experience that brings people together. And that same idea, the shared experience forging bonds, it's in the story Marathon of Compassion from Nairobi.
Okay, I'm listening.
So in this story, a runner collapses during the race. And instead of just running past him, the other runners, they rally around him and help him finish the race.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah, they went from competitors to supporters just like that.
That's human connection right there.
It is, and I think it also shows the power of empathy. These stories remind us that even when we're going through our own struggles, we can still see the struggles of others and offer a helping hand.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're not alone in this. Okay, so we've seen how shared struggles can create connections. But what about connections that cross cultural divides or generational divides?
Oh, that's what's so beautiful about the story, The Language of Friendship, from Tokyo. Imagine volunteers teaching free English classes to elderly residents so they can connect with their grandchildren who live abroad.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. It's like education is a bridge between generations.
Exactly. And it goes to show you learning isn't just about absorbing information. It can actually be a way to build relationships no matter how old you are or where you live.
That's really cool. Okay, so we talked about connections between people, but what about connections that go beyond humans, like with animals or even the environment?
Well, that's where the story of the guardian of stray dogs comes in. This man in São Paulo, he uses his own resources to take care of stray dogs, especially during bad weather.
That's amazing. That's true compassion right there.
It is, and it shows how compassion goes beyond just human interaction. We can care for all living things.
Yeah, we're all connected. So speaking of caring for our world, there's this group of young people in Indonesia who are organizing a beach cleanup in a story called Environmental Champions.
Oh, I love that story. It's not just about picking up trash. It's about young people taking charge, working together, and making a real difference.
That's inspiring. That shows how much they care.
It really does. And sometimes the most powerful acts of kindness are the ones that happen quietly, like in Secret Santa of Hope.
Wow.
So imagine this. London. People are going about their day, and suddenly they find little gifts and encouraging notes left at bus stops.
Oh, come on. That's so sweet.
Right. It's that element of surprise, a little bit of magic in your day.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that even small gestures can have a huge impact.
Absolutely. And speaking of small gestures with big impact, let's talk about the blanket drive in Toronto. So during this really cold snap, volunteers went out and gave blankets to homeless people.
That's incredible.
It's such a simple act, but it means so much. Warmth, comfort, and that feeling that someone cares.
Yeah, sometimes we can get so caught up in our own lives that we forget about the people who are struggling. But these stories remind us that even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all human and we need to help each other out. Okay, for our last story in this collection, we have The Nurse's Compassion. This takes place in Seoul, and there's this nurse who stays late after her shift to comfort a patient who's scared and lonely.
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
It is. It shows that sometimes what people need most is just that human connection, someone to listen, someone to care.
It's like it's as important as any medicine they could give.
You got it. And I think all of these stories, each one so unique and moving, they all point to a simple truth. Human connection, it's essential for our well-being. Even in this world where technology is everywhere, we can't forget how important it is to connect with each other, to be kind, compassionate, and empathetic.
Yeah, that's so true. It's fascinating to see how these stories from all over the world, they all have this same message. Human connection really matters. It brings us joy, purpose, and that feeling of belonging. But it also makes you think, in a world that's increasingly driven by AI and technology, how do we hold on to these connections? How do we make sure they don't get lost? It's something to think about, isn't it?
It's true. And those ripples can extend far beyond our immediate circles, touching the lives of people we may never even meet. Think about the Secret Santa of Hope, leaving gifts and notes at bus stops.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's just putting those good vibes out there.
It is. It's that random act of kindness. It's a reminder that even when things get busy and hectic, there's always room for a little magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And those small acts, they can really snowball.
Ah.
And speaking of small acts with a big impact, the story of the blanket drive in Toronto, oh man, that one really got to me.
Yeah. Just volunteers going out and giving blankets to people experiencing homelessness during that cold snap. It's simple, but so powerful.
It is. It's so easy to get wrapped up in our own lives that we forget about the people who are really struggling. These stories, they just remind us that even the smallest thing can make a huge difference in someone's life.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that shared humanity, and just extending a hand whenever you can.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about human connection, but what about, that connection that extends beyond humans, like the guardian of stray dogs? That was a really powerful story.
Yeah, his story really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you compassion doesn't have limits. It's not just about humans connecting with other humans. We can care for all living things.
Yeah, it's that bigger picture, isn't it? We're all part of this web of life.
We are. And speaking of caring for the world around us, there's that group of young people in Indonesia who are organizing a beach cleanup. That story, Environmental Champions, that one's pretty special.
Oh, yeah, I loved that one. I mean, it's not just about cleaning up the beach. It's about these young people taking the initiative, right? Working together and actually making a difference.
And that's what's so inspiring about it. They're not just cleaning the beach. They're inspiring others to care about the planet.
Exactly. They're leading by example. It's really cool to see.
It is. And, sometimes those acts of kindness, they come from the most unexpected places. Those young people cleaning up the beach in Indonesia, it's a powerful example of how the next generation is stepping up to face the challenges our planet's facing.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And it just gives you hope.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe we're going to be all right after all.
It's a reminder that we can all be change makers no matter who we are or where we come from. And by working together well, we can create a better world, a world that's more just, more compassionate, more connected.
I like that. More
Right,
connected.
yeah.
It's funny, we started by talking about these really heartwarming individual stories, and now we're talking about like the fate of the planet.
I know, right? But it makes sense. Because when you really think about it, it's all connected. These stories, they're not just about warm, fuzzy feelings. They're about something much bigger. They're about the power of human connection to heal, to inspire, to create a better future.
To create a better future. Okay, I like that. But it does kind of raise a big question. How do we carry these lessons forward in a world that's becoming more and more driven by technology? How do we make sure we don't lose sight of what really matters? Those connections with each other, with the world around us. Man, that's the big question, isn't it? It is a big question.
But what's interesting is that even as we're asking these big questions, the answers are kind of all around us, aren't they?
They are. In those simple acts of kindness, those moments of connection, those are the building blocks of a better future.
Yeah, totally. And it's like we've been saying, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as a smile, a helping hand, a listening ear. Those little things, they make a difference. They really do. And you know what I love about these stories is that they remind us that we all have the power to make a difference. You don't have to be a superhero or a CEO or a celebrity. We can all be everyday heroes just by choosing to be kind, compassionate, and connected.
Yeah, I like that. Everyday heroes. So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into these heartwarming stories, I think it's important to remember that this isn't just about feeling good. This is about action. It's about taking these lessons and applying them to our lives.
Absolutely. It's about making a conscious effort to cultivate those connections, to nurture those relationships, to be present in those moments of human interaction. Because at the end of the day, those connections, that's what makes life meaningful.
That's what makes life meaningful. I couldn't agree more. Well, folks, that's it for this deep dive into heartwarming stories of human connection. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and that you're leaving feeling inspired and maybe even a little more connected to the world around you.
And remember, even in a world that's increasingly dominated by technology, those human connections, they matter more than ever. So go out there and spread a little kindness, a little compassion, a little bit of that human magic. You never know how much of an impact you might have.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, everyone. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep exploring the world with an open heart.